Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Sunday the 1st to Thursday the 5th of January 2023. Happy New Year everyone. I hope you had a good New Year. I trust you did. I know someone who did have a very messy New Year, and that's Rob. Hello Rob.
Hi. Sometimes you wonder if you're getting too old for it. Hello everybody, by the way. Happy New Year. I wonder how long it took you to recover from your hangover from New Year's Day. Let me know in the comment section, because it took me a fair while. Passed out on the sofa at 4 a.m. Do you still do that at the age of 35? Is that a thing? Or should I just be doing something more responsible now, like, going to bed at 10 p.m. or something like that, because it's just New Year? New Year's Eve is my sort of event of the year. It's the night I go completely mad. My birthday, yes, obviously, but New Year's Eve is the night where you're just full of hollow optimism. Everything's going to change. This is my year. New year, new me, and all that crap. So I don't know.
Oh,
but
Rob, I feel like this is a therapy session with Rob.
Normally, hello, my name is Rob, and I'm a hopeless alcoholic at New Year's Eve. Because I just drank a lot with my mates, and we had a lovely time, and then passed out on the sofa at 4 a.m. and then had to go to work the next night, and no one came near me, which was very wise, because I was like the wrath of God. It was come close to me, Rob. Will you do this? I'm like the Exorcist. I'm just not
head turned 180.
Yeah,
you didn't turn around; your head just turned.
Spewing green soup everywhere. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. But there we are then. But yes, did you have a good New Year? Happy New Year.
Yeah, well, I had a quiet one, but then that's how I roll nowadays.
Yeah.
I had a few whiskeys, listened to the bells toll, had a bit of Marmite on toast, and then went to bed. That's my life.
Crazy individual, mental. Have a night out.
What I did.
Come on a night out with me, Alex. I shall transform you. You'll learn.
I don't think I'd last that long though. I really don't think I'd last that long. Last time I had a night out, I had to say goodbye to people at 10:30. And I walked home with a bag of chips and went to bed at about 1:45 after eating those chips.
What I tend to do is...
Yeah, but you say that, but I'll just fall asleep.
I'll tie you up and force feed you Sambuca. That's what tends to happen. Yes. So.
That'll be worse though, because then I'd end up being even more tired and wanting to go home. I'll just be like, and I'll be really complaining, and I'll be sat in the corner of the club, and I'll probably get a nosebleed, and then and then I'll just get all. I'll be, it's not that I want to be this way, Rob. I've grown to be
life,
this way.
Isn't it? It's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's turned into a kind of quite a
cat
placid.
dad.
21-year-old Alex would be appalled. 21-year-old Alex would backhand you for the sort of behaviour. You know that.
Yeah, I know. I do know that, and this is what I mean. I try. It's not like I don't try. God help me, I try.
God knows
to go out and have too much to drink, but it just never works out very well for me. Like I said last time, I went out full of enthusiasm, put on my Sunday best for pub, and had a few drinks. You bought me a few drinks because it was the Spoons app. Yeah, 10:30. I was like, nah, I'm going home now. I want to be home. I just want to eat some chips and go home.
Dear. Well, do share with us in the comment section your madness for New Year's Day. Who had a mental one? Someone out there had an absolutely mental one and woke up.
I'm sure plenty of people did.
Let us know in the comment section below. However, Alex, New Year.
Yes.
New set of storylines to discuss, it would appear, as we go into a brand new year of EastEnders. What we're in now, it's 34th, 37th, 38th year, something like that. So 1985, where are we at? Quick
38th
maths.
year.
Go.
38th year.
Well done. Yes. Thank you. Oh, and talking of years, ladies and gentlemen, a new calendar is on its way, okay? And like all good calendars, this one isn't arriving until halfway through the first month of the year. So there we are. But it is on its way. A new calendar will be with us soon, maybe by next week. I don't know yet. But when it does arrive, the year has begun. You wait till you see this calendar. It's marvellous. Love it. Very excited.
We're all very excited. Are you going to do a hint of what it could be, or are you just going to keep... Oh, okay.
Not a word, but it is a iconic EastEnders. It's staying in the tradition of the docked one, which will have a new character to enjoy throughout the year. So look forward to that. So I certainly am. It's very exciting. So Alex, the year has started, and we have much to discuss. Should we get on with it?
Why not, eh? So the Slaters this year decided to start the year with a bang by having a big party.
Big old rave up.
big old rave up. Everyone was there. Everyone was there who was invited.
Loads of people they didn't know. Guarantee
lots
it.
of people.
Loads of people we'd never seen before. Loads of extras. Apparently the Slaters are the most popular people in East London. Everyone knows the Slaters.
It was an amazing party, to be fair, and it was nice to see like
good.
a big party happening like that on Albert Square. Unfortunately, there was carbon monoxide leaking everywhere, and the alert that was meant to save their lives lost its batteries thanks to Jean. And so the party got stopped quite short because of this problem. But it also revealed another secret, because whilst at hospital, Lily had a few tests done just to check that she was okay. And it was found out that she is also pregnant. And that
12.
led to a big fallout then amongst Stacey, Jean, Lily, social services, the police. Everyone got involved. Not Martin, though. Martin's not
no, he's the only person that doesn't know at the moment, I think. He's one of the only people that hasn't been directly involved with this. Wow, then. Yes, 12-year-old Lily Slater. I mean, she's her mother's daughter, isn't she? Through and through. She knows that she... Yeah. But do you know what, actually, in more ways than one? Because I was struck by how much Lily reminded me of Stacey this week. Purely by the fact that this week, I think we got some of the greatest kid performances we've had on EastEnders for a long, long time. Lily Turner is amazing. I cannot praise that young girl enough. She is sensational. So it clearly runs in that family, because I think she's Lacey Turner's cousin or something in real life. And she is amazing. And she really kind of cut her teeth on this storyline this week. I thought she was excellent.
She was really lovely played by her, and it was just it was just remarkable the similarities between them. I mean, I've said it with Chelsea and Denise as well, but I don't think there is any relation between them unless there's one they don't know about. The casting has been pretty outstanding for mother and daughters of recent, and it's just seeing it being played out, because, and you must remember it's a 12-year-old as well, because a lot of recastings has happened with the younger cast this year. Namely Amy, and it's been portrayed then by older characters so that they can do a bit more adult roles. And this is quite an adult role to take, isn't it? This is quite a very, very difficult story to be done by a 12-year-old actress. I mean, it's remarkable that they're even doing it. Do you feel like this is kind of canon? It's been done a few times before.
Yeah,
it's very young as well.
It is very young. In terms of soaps telling this story, I don't think it's kind of as shocking as it once was. You know, I think Corrie broke the mold with this one. I think when Sarah Louise Platt was 13, I think was the first time that had really been done in a soap. And since then, we've had like a few other sort of young pregnancies. But I'm pretty sure she is the youngest pregnancy we've had on EastEnders, certainly. Obviously, last year we were talking about, the fact that Denny had been doing all sorts of, been up to all sorts of Jada. Very different type of storyline this, however, because we're looking very much more at the sort of effect this is going to have on Lily and the aftermath and how it's all going to play out. We don't know whether obviously there was talk of her having an abortion this week. We don't know if that's how it is going to play out. Obviously, for the sake of drama, you would suspect that this whole wish that Lily and Stacey have got, trying to keep it very much within the Slater household, not have to involve Jack, not have to involve Martin, anybody that's going to kind of cause a fuss. None of that's going to happen, is it really?
No.
This is all going to kind of explode in big epic style. But there were some great scenes with this week. All the way down to kind of Lily finding out, Stacey finding out, like how shocked she was. And I think, sometimes you get in with the parents' role in this, that the parents sort of explodes with anger and is just sort of confused and dazed and sort of really sort of has a go at the kid. And I don't think Stacey really did that. I actually thought that Stacey was actually as supportive as she could have been in the role that she found herself in this week. Jean was fantastic within it as well. I thought those three ladies played some absolute blinders this week. All three were fantastic. Loved their scenes this week.
And I love that they didn't. But what do you do? I love the fact that they obviously we'll talk a bit more about the carbon monoxide poisoning with the Panasars. Yes. Jean discovered that she was the one with the battery, removing the batteries earlier. But I love the fact that she kind of came running in, and you thought, no, you kind of thought like, is Jean going to take, is Jean going to take over, kind of as in like you're going to then see Stacey trying to have to talk her mum down, but no, Jean kind of then realised that like there's more important matters. Yes, there's a bit of a mistake made, but there's more important matters between her and Lily and Stacey, her daughter, and her granddaughter. And you shouldn't forget either that obviously there's that real bond between Jean and Lily as well, from when Lily was looking after. Yeah, where Lily was looking after Jean when Jean was having her moment. last year now, when she was running around the beach and walking into windows and mirrors. Yeah, it just, like I say, it was so well played, and I'm very interested in seeing how it goes. I wonder whether they're going to take the route where Lily decides to terminate the child or not, because they don't tend to do that in soaps, do they? And it seems to be one of those things that they kind of don't want to approach it. I don't know why, but it's one of those things they don't like to approach the idea of that much anymore.
Yeah, and you would think that a 12-year-old girl, especially someone like Lily, would kind of, you'd think they'd be kind of quite keen on that option. I would struggle to kind of think of a reason as to why Lily would want to keep the baby at this stage. I don't know, unless you're going to do some sort of rebellion against sort of Martin and the way that people around her are reacting, and then just decides, oh, right, screw you all, I'm going to keep the baby. So, yeah, I think abortion just seems to be the obvious sort of route to take this down, but then you've also got to remember that obviously people need to find out, and how are they going to react to it? Is Ricky going to want this kid to go away? Is Jack going to want, potentially his first grandchild to go away? So there's all sorts of things to consider with it, really. But I do think that there's obviously a lot more to come with this. It's going to bring the kids forward again, which with this group of kids, I have no complaints with whatsoever, because they're the strongest group of kids I think I've seen in a very long time in soap. And it's going to give the person that we apparently have discovered is the father this week, young Ricky, the chance for him to shine. Because I think out of all the kids, Ricky has been sort of the one that's been the most quiet so far. So this is kind of his
not done a lot, has he? He's kind of been in the background a lot. He had that little moment with Amy during her self-harm story.
Not his own sort of story, really, yet, has he?
But not his own story. There's kind of talk out there, not just on the square, but of the fact that Lily has said that she was bored and she had sex with Ricky Jr. and that's what's happened. Like they only had done it once. In one hand, something else in the other. But there's been talk about maybe Lily's kind of covering something else up, and that she saw that as an easy out. So Stacey saw that Ricky Jr. and and Lily were waving at each other in the window. Stacey put forward the idea that it's Ricky Jr.'s, and Lily took that as an opportunity of, I'll say that, and she made her mum promise not to spread this information. So again, not to share it with anyone, and so to keep it amongst them three for now. So I'm wondering. So the talk is there more to it? Is it Ricky's Jr.'s, or is it perhaps someone else's?
Yeah, I was wondering that. The chances are then, if it isn't Ricky's, then that means that something else a lot darker has gone on, because otherwise surely you would, if it was still a kid of her age, then you would think that Lily would just say, all right, it's Nuggets or it's Denzal's or something like that. She would have said the truth there and then. So if it isn't Ricky's, that means that something a lot more horrible has happened, which kind of raises the question as well to who else it could be. And my God, the theories that were flying around the internet this week. You see some of them. Honestly, half the cast got accused of paedophilia this week. Well, half the cast of characters, I should say. Sorry, let me just clarify that. Half the characters, all right.
The grooming stories,
didn't they? We had Freddie being accused. Freddie was prime suspect at one point, which I thought was
Freddie seems to be the popular one. To be honest, Freddie seems to be the one that most people seem to pitch out there. I think they're kind of, as we've discussed, it's kind of an historical thing. Obviously, Freddie's dad, breed sick. So Freddie's dad was a rapist. Would it kind of carry down? Freddie was acting very guilty throughout the week as well, kind of telling everyone he loved them. Well, he kept saying to everyone he loved them, because then the kind of idea came out that he was the one who kind of spoiled, broke the boiler or something like that. Yeah. He was acting very suspicious. When he was working at the chip shop, he wasn't doing the orders correctly, and Bobby kind of excused the fact that he was very upset because the family had gone. And, it does make sense, because Freddie's a very soft character. But the idea of grooming was brought up on more than one occasion, and even to the point where Stacey said, well, I don't think Lily needs to be embarrassed anymore, because we know that she wasn't groomed. And I feel like that they keep bringing it up for a reason. Would Freddie fit that picture? Does he? I mean, it's a difficult one, because I struggle too, because I worry that they keep introducing nice characters.
Yeah, there is that.
So like very early in the morning, watching the wildlife in the back garden, the sunrise.
Sparrows,
With sparrows, and drinking like chai tea.
Surely a Twitcher would never do something like that, surely.
No way.
I don't know.
weird, isn't it?
I'm not convinced yet. I mean, don't get me wrong. I may well be proved wrong this time next week. Who knows? But at the moment, I'm inclined to think that she's telling the truth. I get why people would say that she's probably lying. I do understand that, but I kind of think this. I put it like this. I don't think it's Freddie. Now, feel free to grab this little clip and boast about it online all you like, and like post it everywhere, saying, "Look, Walford Weekly were wrong."
We normally are.
We normally
That's
are.
just what we are. We're just there throwing out theories.
They always are. What's your point? But I don't. I'm not convinced. I don't think it will be. If it is, then tricky, because it kind of removes any sort of likability that's obviously instantly removes any likability from Freddie, which kind of feels like it's something we've been working very hard on since Freddie came in, so to make him as likable as possible, possibly so that this twist is 10 times more shocking. But I feel like, I don't know, I'm not convinced it's Freddie. It
feels like they're throwing it does feel like they'd be throwing away a character legacy, arguably, down the drain, just because they just this shocking storyline. I mean, I think it's shocking enough if it is Ricky Junior's
also shocking, yes.
Ricky Junior's kid. I think that's shocking enough, and underage pregnancy and so on and so forth. I do like, actually, I must say also, that they're kind of taking the kind of social services route and the police route. I loved all that. Yeah. It's not just kind of like a flash in the pan that they've had that one interview in the hospital and then that's it. And I like the way it was also portrayed, like when the interview was taking place and Stacey was stood outside the door, like looking distraught, like this is her baby, this is her daughter. She said herself, she's like, when did I lose the grip of my daughter? When did my daughter not become this little girl who could talk to me? And Jean's quite eloquently said, like, when I felt like that way to you as well, she's not changed. It's just the way you look at her has changed. And it's like,
Christ knows that Stacey must have been a tricky daughter to have it when she was growing up. But we saw.
Well, I think Jean was a tricky mum to have. To be fair,
together they were great fun. I cannot wait to see how this all plays out, because there's nobody in this story that isn't going to absolutely knock this out of the park. And like the best EastEnders stories, this is one that is kind of a talking point, but it's also absolutely rooted in character. Like it totally, everybody's role in this totally makes sense. And even Ricky, Liddy's kind of argument of the fact that, everyone was paying attention to Amy, and sort of Ricky was feeling pushed out. That sort of works with Ricky's character. You can sort of understand, like, well, yeah, I get that. I can understand why you would cut, well, maybe not from Ricky's perspective, but Ricky certainly, I can imagine, would be looking for some level of comfort. Young kids, teenagers, hormones flying around everywhere. It is understandable. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. Obviously, the next stage of this is also not only the pregnancy and what we've discovered from this, the aftermath of the boiler itself breaking down. This carbon monoxide leak that came through has very much put the Panasars in the spotlight for sort of irresponsible landlording. They turn up at the New Year's Eve party with a bottle of whiskey, just to sort of kind of say, well, congratulations, all is well, welcome in the new year. Suki and Eve, who I thought had sort of not left things on the best in the best place with the last time they spoke, but they've sort of had a few tentative looks across the square occasionally. But it seems they are very much on again, because Eve was kind of pouring Nish a drink and getting him drunk, and it seemed that they were sort of trying to resist each other. That didn't last long, however, because all Eve needed to do was make one joke about like people in the closet, and Suki's literally standing by the door, like, get in the bedroom. It's sort of bring the punch. And leave Nish to get drunk. And I'll just come and snog you in your bedroom. So they're very much still on. So what effect this has on their relationship will be interesting to see. Nish, I think there's something to be pulled out of this week with the Panasas as well about the relationship between Suki and Nish. I feel that Nish this week sort of upped his game in terms of the control he has over Suki. There were some hints there that all is not well with those. Suki's getting uncomfortable around him. That's starting to build up a little bit, I think. Don't you?
Yeah, risky game with Eve and Suki. I know what you're saying. There was a bit of Nish kind of pushing himself around this week. But I think Suki kind of held her own quite strong as well. She kind of convinced Nish on a few occasions to kind of do what, not her will, but what she suggested would be a good idea. She suggested, first of all, apologising to Ben, because there was that obviously that deal that they kind of Ben broke off, and then he then offered to pay for Lola and Jay's not wedding, the honeymoon. Lola was very quick to accept that as well.
Oh, you do realise that Lola and Jay have managed to get this wedding paid for, their honeymoon paid for. You know, all of this absolutely fine. They don't have to worry about a thing. So
it's going to be one heck of a ceremony
as well. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I'd have the biggest wedding Walford, London has ever seen. It would be huge. But like, royal wedding would have a clue on the royal wedding would have nothing on what I'd be getting out of this.
Broadcast live to millions worldwide.
Millions and billions across the world.
Yeah, streamed live. So like Jay and Ben tried to show principle by being like, well, you can't just buy us off. And they were like, hang on, I've got a honeymoon.
I think you can.
Literally stretched forward, took the envelope, and that was that. But Harvey kind of saw through it, as you said, after Nish kind of did that. But as you say, so Nish is kind of pushing his weight around. Suki, I think, knows the right things to manipulate him and almost to make him think that it's his idea, but it's actually her who came up with it. Yes. We saw the return of troubled Vinny, which I always enjoy. He's now got curtains.
Yes, I mean, he wasn't that troubled this week, to be fair. I think Vinny's kind of biggest thing was sort of staring from the window and sort of watching Phil have a meltdown, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, he wasn't too sort of anguished this week. But what I thought was interesting was the fact that the week ended with Nish getting this apology off Harvey and sort of really sort of niggling at him and antagonising him, and then not getting what he wanted, and then telling Suki to put up their rents, including the Slaters. Put up the Slaters' rent. Yeah, I know we've nearly killed them, but put up a rent. Put up their rent. I have to say, this whole thing, because it turns out that Jean took the batteries out of the carbon monoxide alarm, which is why they became unaware of it, and that thereby removes the Panasar's kind of account of blame from that. Now, Alex, if you had taken the batteries out of your smoke alarm for undisclosed purposes, and then I came and set fire to your house, would you be at blame because you nearly died in the fire because you took the batteries out of the smoke alarm?
I mean, did you set my house on fire on purpose, or was it accidental?
Who knows? You know, it's
you're an enigma.
I'm an enigma.
I mean, I think
wrapped in a cloud of mystery.
For the matters of insurance, I think the insurance would probably say that it would be my fault.
Really?
Because I didn't take the smoke. I took the batteries out the smoke alarm. Yeah, I guess.
So no matter what I've been up to, arson, it's fine.
I suppose. I suppose the smoke alarm wouldn't really stop the fire, though, would it?
No.
So I suppose it makes it a moot point.
I've made the fire happen, or by some sort of disregard for common sense, a fire has occurred that I have been responsible for, or something like that, or I am your landlord and something that I was supposed to check out, like faulty electrics or something, had set fire to your house. I wouldn't be then removed from responsibility for it because you've removed the batteries in your smoke alarm. It's still my behaviour or lack of care that has made this fire happen. So surely the lack of care from the Panasar's part on the count of the boiler, I don't know, is it? I mean, this is in areas I have no idea what I'm talking about, granted. But I don't know, it just seemed very easy for them to sort of say it wasn't our fault, it wasn't our problem. If you hadn't removed the batteries, then you wouldn't be in this mess, would you? Ha ha, ha ha. I don't know.
I mean, any sensible people would probably think, we've got some blame here. It's our boiler that we should have had checked. But they did get it checked. So I suppose it's
true.
I don't know. I feel like it's just kind of like one of those kind of like it's no one's really to blame. But I think Nish kind of took exception to the fact that Harvey kind of straight away pointed finger of blame and wanted to sue them
publicly, and then, as well.
Made it very public, because that was one of the things. Also, he said, wasn't it? He said, "I want you to publicly apologise to me in the cafe." And I was like, "Jog on, I'm not doing that."
Yeah, exactly. Which actually I'm pleased about. I'm glad Harvey did that. It's a fair play to him on that. But then this is the sort of thing that abusers do, and we have had a kind of established to us from Suki that Nish is basically a coercive controller, and that is something being humiliated is top of their list of things that they don't like. I think we're starting now to see this side of Nish emerge. It was relatively subtle this week, kind of mixed in with the darkness that we already know is there. But I think Suki and Nish are definitely going to start to build up a little bit over the coming weeks, and we'll get more of the Panasars and more of the sort of the dynamics within their relationship. So that's going to be interesting.
He seems to have really won over Vinny as well, despite Vinny's reservations.
I doubt that's that hard, to be honest.
No, to be fair, because there was that bit when Nish, he wanted to do something. I think he said like, I want to get revenge on Ben Mitchell for everything. And Vinny stepped up and said, "Oh, and I know you could do as well, Dad." When Suki kind of said, like, "Oh, you know,
bless
poor
him.
Vinny. He's such troubled, isn't he?
I love Vinny
in his troubled little face. He's like
I
a little
know.
puppy,
He's troubled
constantly
little
looking for
hairstyle.
attention.
I love Vinny. Bless his
It changes
bones.
every time.
day.
He's in curtains mode at the moment. Do you think he's growing it? Maybe he's going to
Might be.
for full,
it's been a while since we've seen Vinny properly, so yeah, he's one of those characters who's going to have a completely different hairstyle since
each week.
Till we next see him. Yeah,
What's Vinny's hair this week?
Betwixt appearances. There we are.
Lovely. Even Suki quickly, you know,
yes,
they're playing a dangerous game. We say this quite a lot, but
yeah, well, don't they always?
You excited to see more?
I am excited to see more. I thought Suki. I think this is what surprised me by how Suki did this week, because I wouldn't have thought that she would have been that risky to go off and run into Eve's bedroom and start eating her face whilst Nish was in the house. You know, and that
lucky it's just her face.
Well, exactly. Stop it, Alexander. New year, new you. And
less smart.
So, you know, and anyone could have walked into that bedroom. And at one point, we did think Nish was walking in on them, you know. But obviously, Eve had passed out by that point. I have to say, for a second.
Passed out.
Well, I have to say, for a second, I had an image of like the door opening and Eve going, "Sugar, what do we do?" And just sort of pretending, "Oh, she's fainted. I don't know what's happened to her." Sort of playing along with that, but because that's what I would have done. If in doubt, faint.
Yeah, if we hadn't known better, we could have thought that Eve just kind of quickly fainted, because she could have been laying on the bed. You know,
yeah, she could have been. Oh, she's fainted.
Yeah, and then she was like,
and if I was Suki, and if I was Suki, and she'd have fainted in my arms, I'd have been like, well, yeah, you know, that's what can I say? You've either got it or you haven't. You've either got it or you haven't.
I did love seeing though Eve and Suki sharing a midnight kiss. I thought it was lovely seeing them two together. They do suit each other.
They are a good pairing. They are a good pairing, which means that they are in for a whole world.
They're in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh well, okie coke then. So lots of. I mean, we've clearly not seen the end of this. And as you said, you also talked. Amy kind of tried to put out an olive branch this week as well toward Lily. She kind of shook it away. So there's that as well. Kind of Amy discovering, all the kids at school discovering. And lots to come. Yeah, Panasars, I'm sure of it.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that. All right. So coming up next then is the other big story of New Year's. And that is the Mitchells getting themselves in more trouble. Bill has been making a lot of promises and also breaking a lot of promises this week. And it's got him a little bit unstuck because he finally has pushed to Keeble perhaps a little bit too far, knowing that he's got all that information in his recordings as relayed by Kanu, Kayano, that he passed on the information. Phil, rightly or wrongly, but I would lean toward wrongly, then threatened him and his family by saying, "You want to bury another one of your children."
Light's doing that this week, didn't he? Twice he said that.
Twice he mentioned that. I know.
Yeah.
He needs one of those key rings where you can just record the sound and just play it in front of the camera's ear.
It's got one button for the A, one button for the A, 2 foot. Do you want to bury a child again this week? Yeah.
But yeah, so Keeble hired some goons. We started to go into Fleet of Fancy a little bit. They then kidnapped Kat and Tommy.
Stacey did.
Took them to a warehouse.
Didn't do that.
Well, it wasn't a warehouse either, I should say. It wasn't a warehouse.
Wasn't a shenanigan warehouse.
It was the underground of Holby City. They used the set for the underground set of Holby City.
Unless, of course, that is the new Shenanigan Warehouse. And Shenanigan Warehouse has had a massive upgrade. It's now got doors. It's got corridors. If you go into a room, it's got a kitchen and a telly that you can settle yourself in. You know, kidnapped victims have got it made in Walford.
Shower.
Yeah, the whole lot.
Salon. Denise has branched out. She's got
London, you charge £1,000 a month for a place like that. I tell you, you'd be fine.
You would. The square footage of that place, I'll tell you what, you should do something nice with that.
Nish wants to have a look around Shenanigan Warehouse and think, I can make some money out of this. This is good.
Yeah. But poor Keeble, she got herself unstuck herself because by kidnapping Tommy and Kat, she kind of got herself in more trouble than she was probably bargaining for, which was portrayed quite lovely.
Yes.
She was not out. She was out of a lot of her zones. She basically kind of stretched a bit too far for even Keeble. And I think that even Keeble kind of knew that, because by the end of the week, she was pretty much exhausted, gave up, and decided she was going to retire and creep. But I mean, to get to that path, to get to that ultimate ending, I mean, we went through a few kind of weird turns to get there. I will say from the outset, because before we start recording, you were out there ready to fight, saying that I would hate every minute of it. I didn't hate it. I mean, I'm glad they've kind of gotten. I feel like they do one shenanigan a year,
yes,
and they've got it out of the way in the first week of January, which is fine by me. It's got.
I bless your optimism for thinking that's going to be our last shenanigan of the year, Alex. But all right,
I hope so.
It won't.
It was good. It was fine. It was all right. And the way they found him was short, concise, and sweet. And it wasn't too silly either. You know, he had a smartwatch. You connect to the smartwatch, you find the location. And they did. What's that? Oh my goodness. What's that show when they got the? Oh, it's Red Dwarf. When Crichton's got that machine when he's kind of walking around and he's kind of scanning everything to find information about the new area they're in. When Keanu and Phil they found the warehouse. Like they're kind of walking around with the phone like that, going, right, which way now? Left. This way, right. And it's like, smartwatches aren't that concise, are they?
The Crystal Maze, wasn't it?
It was.
I don't know. I haven't got one. Yeah, I mean, this did. I have a little bit lost the plot. This story this week, I thought. You know, considering that this all kind of came from the flashback episode, which was one of my favourite episodes of EastEnders of all time. I didn't think that we were going to end up. You know, the whole point of this was for us to end up in a warehouse, but you know, that's where we ended up. And what I will say is that no matter kind of how mad and weird it went, which it wasn't actually that bad. We're making it sound as though it sort of went into ridiculous areas. It wasn't that bad whatsoever, actually. I did enjoy it. I was quite excited by a lot of it this week. I was kind of, I think what it was is that I was kind of just disappointed. I think that this is probably the end of Keeble. I'm glad she didn't die, because I thought that was where it was going. But what we did get as a result of this story this week was some really nice character moments on Thursday's episode. I loved Thursday's episode. You know, first of all, talk about Honey, who was in ball breaker mode again this week. I love it when she squares up to Phil, when she's done that a few times in the Clenner's era. So if this is kind of Clenner's vision of Honey, I'm for it, because I like Honey when she's like this. There's some really nice moments there was a really nice moment between Billy and Jay, where they sort of officially put to bed everything, you know, with, you know, the Honey and Jay stuff.
That was we don't talk about.
Yeah,
another mistake.
That scene was basically like, and that's the last time we're going to discuss that. Let me tell you. So
it never happened.
Good. That was really nice. Even there was some even really nice kind of Phil moments. I thought on Thursday's app where him and Keeble. Well, I would, because that moment between him and Keeble where he was sort of saying about how his dad has kind of wrecked both of their lives in a lot of ways. And they sort of had that moment where he kind of actually managed to talk Keeble around, and there probably was a level of manipulation there, but I thought that there was actually some genuineness in there as well. Well, he did, because he made a phone call. She wasn't bothered about dying at the start.
Only because I think only because he brought up her dad, and he kind of said, "Do you want to die the same way as your dad?" And that kind of maybe hit home a little bit. It's like, is it really worth me dying over this? Not because it's not even. It's not even Phil that she's getting into trouble, really. It's Billy. And, Billy will soon forgive him, I'm sure, if he brings him a few cakes into jail or whatever. But, I don't think Keeble was particularly that happy about having to kind of give up her, her master stroke at the end, and just decide that she's going. Well, not just that. She kind of lost everything that she'd ever wanted to end her career on. She looked a bit woesome in that bed in hospital, didn't she? Well,
yeah, she was.
She kind of looked out, and she was a bit depressed.
Well, do you think we'll ever see Keeble again?
Bring her up. I wondered this.
She didn't die, so
maybe one day. The only time I can think is if they ever write out Phil Mitchell as a character. If they ever have, dare I say, the guts to write out Phil Mitchell as a character.
Stop it. Yes.
But they don't. I said last week. I don't think they. Or did I say it last week, or did I say it during my tier list? One or the other. I don't know. I say so much nowadays.
Which I watched from second to second, obviously, Alex. And I think you did talk about.
Of course you did.
Of course I did. And you did speak about sort of Phil. In fact, I will be honest with you. You ranked Phil higher than I thought you were going to rank Phil. I thought he was going straight in. I thought he was going straight into Alfie's panto. The amount that you seem to despise Phil these days, but I was impressed.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do want to correct you here. I don't despise Phil. I just feel like as a character, he's tired and he needs to be put to pasture like a little
It's
bit. I think,
it's
yeah.
No, I just it's odd, isn't it? Because I was kind of watching this week with the sort of thinking about like, right, I can imagine how Alex is going to react to this because that's what I do now. I've been doing this. I've been doing this
What will
now
Alex think?
for over 2 years, and all I can think now, occasionally a scene will come up. Oh, Alex is going to love that. It's like I just have those moments in my head. And I was kind of watching the Phil story this week, kind of thinking, right, well, how is this discussion going to go? And I was kind of just thinking, it does. I think your enjoyment of this story this week, kind of very much depends on how you feel about these sorts of stories and sort of what we've now deemed shenanigans, and how you feel about those sorts of stories. And in all honesty, for me, it's a simple case of the fact that I'm not bored by Phil doing this. It doesn't bother me that Phil does this. As far as I'm concerned, this is Phil. This is the sort of story he does. I like Phil as a character. I think he's an important character, and I think that these stories have more impact because they are Phil. If it was other characters doing this, I wouldn't care as much. But because it's Phil and there was that history behind it, I did enjoy it more. And like I say, you're more bored of those sorts of stories than I am. So I think that's just basically the main difference between them. But it's good that you didn't hate the story this week. It kind of went in a direction that you kind of enjoyed. So that's all right, I suppose.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I feel like would we need these stories though if Phil wasn't there? Like, would we?
I can't see imagine anyone else. Well, Ben would do it probably, wouldn't he?
Maybe, but if Phil wasn't there and they didn't write stories like this, would I honestly think to myself, well, then EastEnders is unwatchable for me? And personally, no. Not really.
Not neither would I. I wouldn't say that either. But...
So I don't feel like I would particularly miss these stories. And like this history was kind of. It wasn't retconned. I'm not saying it's retconned, but this history was kind of caused by that splashback episode. Otherwise, we would never known there was a link between Keeble and Phil, other than obviously his crimes and his other shenanigans in the past. And I feel like they added this extra edge so they could then kind of wrap up this kind of Keeble's retirement story in the end. But I mean, no, there's no shame. Sadly, there's no place for Keeble now because she's kind of. That's
she's not
it.
a policeman anymore, is she?
She's not a police. Yep, she's not a detective anymore, and she also has. She's kind of conceded, and Phil's won. Phil's won this battle, one of many battles that Phil will win.
That's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah. And to be fair, even when Phil sort of was gloating over a kind of wounded Keeble saying, "I won," I was sort of just like, "Yeah, of course you've won." Phil, no one else was going to.
Where did he find those gauze? Because after you had that conversation and he said, "Right, I've cleaned up Keeble and I've stopped the blood." I thought to myself,
I don't know.
What?
Well, because Shenanigan Warehouse has had such a massive upgrade. There's also a first aid kit in the corner. So you can just go to that. When you've shot somebody and you don't quite want them to die, and they've surrounded you, you'll go, "All right, yes, I'll give you what you want." And you go, "Right, now I shall patch you up. Thank you for your cooperation." And then you patch them up, and then you send them off to hospital. It's all there within the Shenanigan Warehouse handbook that can be found just by the entrance. Underneath your complimentary cup of coffee when you come in as well. So it's all sorted. Despite everything else that happened this week, and like I said, I did enjoy. Again, sometimes what happens is you get a bit of craziness, and it kind of gives you some nice stuff because of its existence, which I thought was what we got this week on Thursday's episode. Some really nice character moments for me. But what I was surprised by, I think I found that the ending of this week surprising, and I would venture towards maybe a little bit disappointing as well, because I thought that this was the whole point of this would have been for Cap to go, actually, do you know what? Enough. See you later, Phil. I thought that's where it was going, because the fact that he'd put Tommy in danger. In all honesty, I thought that Tommy had been on the end of the bullet. I thought Tommy had been shot, so I was kind of surprised by that at the least as well. And again, I thought that was going to be enough for Cat to go, well, my son nearly died, so see you later, Phil. And
Tommy, he's had a heck of a time.
Oh, hasn't he just? And of course, then you've also got Alfie.
Gunshot.
Yeah, I know, the whole lot, the whole kit and caboodle. He's not even 13 yet, bless him. Because obviously, all the Square went mad this week, was trying to kind of keep all the Slater and Mitchell kids safe. One highlight I do want to bring up during this week, one little moment which amused me greatly, was when Alfie was running around looking for Bert and Ernie, and Kim was looking after them. It was a great moment, great moment when when she came out, when he was frantically looking for Kim, and she sort of emerged from McClunky's with Bert and Ernie, who were both clutching milkshakes, and she's like, "Right, you tell anybody that I gave you apples and carrots," and then she sees Alfie running towards us, like, "Put them in the bin, put them in the bin, put them in the bin." I love that. I thought that was a really funny moment.
That was a nice moment.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, anyway, I was surprised by the fact that Kat actually stayed with Phil by the end of the week, and also what I was surprised by was that Alfie turned around and said, "Right, okay, fine, Kat, I'm done. I'm done trying to win you back." But then my expectation of Alfie at that moment was to go, "But if you are going to stay in this relationship, I'm having the kids because they are not safe here." Would have been my expectation of Alfie at that moment, and I didn't get that either. So what I got was kind of a double-ended sort of from both Kat and Alfie, where I was thinking that one of them surely is going to say enough of Phil, basically, and neither of them actually did that. Now, I don't believe Alfie's just going to roll over and say, "Oh, well, I guess that's me and Kat done then." I don't believe that's going to happen for a second, but I'm surprised by...
He did say he's not going to flog the dead horse anymore. He said,
said that before. He also, he's also turned around to Kat and said, "Oh, yeah, we're just going to be mates, that's fine." Well, you know that he's talking out his arse.
Whilst trying to kiss her at a pantomime.
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly, 2 weeks later. So when is Alfie's next sort of kiss attempt going to come into play? So yeah, I was kind of disappointed by that, by the fact that essentially at the end of the week, it's all sort of status quo and everything is back to normal. You kind of get the impression that Kat is obviously not completely over the events of it, because she did find it quite traumatic, and she was sort of, but there was something in her eyes that kind of, that there was the instant regret of her decision. But you also sort of think, I don't know whether Kat would do that. I don't know if it felt completely rooted in Kat to say, actually, do you know what, screw this. I'm actually going to stay with you despite everything that's happened, and I'm sure that you will keep Tommy and my boys safe because I've told you that needs to happen. And if I don't know if I was 100% convinced by that. I thought that this would be the end of the Phil and Kat stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'm surprised that Kat stayed, but then what's the alternative? Alfie. So in a weird way, I'm kind of glad she did. I can't see Kat kind of being on her own. But I can't see it lasting for much longer. And the thing is like her saying to Phil, like, "My children are in danger," and Phil said, "Well, if you stay with me, I'll protect your children." It's like, well, if you weren't with him, you wouldn't need your children protecting in the first place. So it's kind of like a catch-22 situation, it feels like.
There was a moment this week when Phil turned around to Kat when she said that to him, was just like, "Oh, yeah, well, the world's a dangerous place." And you kind of think, yeah, the world's a dangerous place, Phil, because of people like you. People like you are what we need protection from. So, again, I was surprised that Kat kind of rolled over, because it did seem that Kat was ready to break up with Phil at that moment. So, and it seems like you say, it doesn't seem that they're long for this world in terms of their relationship, but it seems like, well, if they're not going to be long for this world, then why didn't they just break up then? It would have felt a little bit neater in terms of the story. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. There may be some more surprises coming. I've got to be honest, considering that Clemens has sort of come in and sort of swept a lot of stuff under the carpet, and I'm not criticizing that, because some stuff desperately needed to go under the carpet. But I'm surprised that Phil and Kat have sort of hung on throughout all this. And the thing is, I don't hate Kat and Phil together. This is the thing. I found myself surprised by actually how much I'm sort of enjoying them as a couple, because I think as a pairing, as an actor pairing and as a character pairing, they're actually bouncing off each other quite well. So I would have been disappointed to sort of see that end in that respect. But in terms of character motivation, I can totally understand Phil being head over heels for Kat, because as Sam turned around to him at one point this week and said, "She's far too good for you. You know, you don't deserve her," which was completely true. But I don't see it. There are elements of it that I don't see what Kat is getting out of the relationship at this stage. And I feel like Kat's the sort of person that would say, actually, yeah, I'm not getting anything out of this. I am better than this. I don't deserve this. And my boys are unsafe. Goodbye. You know, so I don't know.
I mean, you got the taxi rank. She got that from Phil.
Great. Yeah, great.
And a house. She's got a house for her family to live in.
Yeah, true. But, with excellent Christmas decorations, I think.
Ridiculous.
I love those icicles. I love those icicles. I want them. This time next year, you wait. It's going to be like, Iceland maybe around this room. Yeah, for sure.
Again, that kind of pulled me out of any scenes when Phil was trying to be serious. Every time you saw these blue trickles of like in the background, but that's Again,
Yeah.
again, that's just a small thing. You've touched on Sam actually, and I just want to quickly circle back round with Sam because Sam had a couple of things this week. So not only did Sam feel like she's been kind of brought back into the Mitchell family and she's been accepted again by Phil when she had that conversation with Phil, I think last week about Kat, but also kind of being brought in to kind of help with what to do with the kidnapping. But she's also been given an opportunity to go away to Germany with Ricky. And before she got that text message from Phil inviting her to celebrate New Year's with them, she kind of considered it. Now, do you think this is a new era for Sam and Ricky? Will Ricky kind of hang around longer than we've been told? Do you reckon Sam's going to go with Ricky?
No, and frankly, I'm surprised Ricky is still here because we've got everything sort of ticked off the list. As what I assume was going to happen was that Scarlett is at some point going to go off with Ricky to Germany, and that'll be the end of Scarlett. Obviously, I think Sam's main thing was the fact that she felt that her family weren't interested in her or interested in her place within the Mitchell sort of hierarchy. And would have then said, well, in that case, screw it. Yes, I'll go off to Germany with you, Ricky. I'll be unhappy, but I'm sure I'll find some other bloke while I'm there, and then everything will be fine and dandy. But then, obviously, Phil texted her. The fact that she went running immediately just leads me to think that as soon as Ricky goes, right, so are we going there? So I'm going to be like, no. So I think next week will probably be Ricky's last week, I'm guessing. And Ricky will sort of go back to Germany with his tail between his legs, would be my thinking.
And hopefully we see Reese back as well, because I thought that Sonia kind of messaged Reese as well, and I'd like to see him back. I've gushed a lot about Reese. I do like him a lot.
You did.
He's a good guy, and I'm very excited to see him return. So that's exciting too.
You're sort of a bearded guy, isn't he?
He is, yeah, got a nice beard. Just like me. It's like a gravel beard. What I was going to say, so I suppose everything's gone full circle, hasn't it, with the Mitchells? Billy's off now. He's been off for a while, but he's not being convicted anymore for a crime that he kind of didn't commit. His dad committed. Yes. Honey's all happy. Will and Janet are over the moon. Lovely seeing Will as well this week, kind of having that heart-to-heart with his dad.
Yeah. Again, great kid.
Janet was hungry.
Janet. I love that. Janet was. Well, we did briefly see Janet this week. She came in and was like, "You're free," and kind of hugged and threw her arms.
Yeah, it was lovely seeing Janet. I just loved it. I just loved it. There was that real, you saw Honey kind of sat on the sofa looking very concerned about the court case that was happening. Lola walked in and
Janet's
said,
hungry.
Janet's hungry. And then Jay walks in a few minutes later and says he's got life, a life free of being outside. And
Jay, like, king of the puns. Jay, king of the puns. Done?
Yeah, but so I did, but genuinely, I loved the bits between Billy and his son. And again, more of that. This kind of real moments when they're kind of bonding together. We are getting a lot more of them, and I mean, it's good that there's this kind of now steps to one side because now obviously Lola and Jay, and obviously that's now going to be the big story with Ben, Billy, Phil. I think stepping forward. So there you go.
Yeah, all good stuff.
How weird.
And of course, finally, just to kind of all put a ribbon on it, Phil has said that Keanu can stay around the square because he helped Phil out.
Stay out of his way.
Yeah, stay out of his way because that's going to happen.
Which is going to be so easy,
Yeah, because obviously he's not going to run straight back into Sharon's arms. So I think we've still got all that to come because clearly there is still a thing between Phil and Sharon that's going to kind of be played out at some point as well. Yeah. So that's all still to come.
But he hasn't. That's the thing. He hasn't actually said to Keanu that he has to stay out of his way. He's just. He has said that. Sorry, he hasn't said anything about Sharon though. So I feel like he kind of allowed. He's kind of given the pass to let them. He's given permission for Sharon to move on.
I sort of read between the lines there and kind of thought that in his "stay out of my way" implied stay away from Sharon because Sharon is in my way.
Okay.
So I would imagine that if he sees them together, Phil is very much going to consider Keanu to be in his way. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Do you reckon they're doing like a role reversal?
Objects.
To Phil, they are. So
exactly.
I can't say his name properly anymore.
Keanu.
I know. I've done it for so long now, taking the mick out.
Just names beginning with K that you struggle with. You can't.
No, I'm fine with it. Keanu.
Oh, right,
I can say it.
Oh, all
right.
It's hard to tell with you.
Keanu and Sharon get together, but then Sharon ends up having an affair with Phil. I mean, they could do that, I suppose.
Probably.
But I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
Time will tell.
Indeed.
Do you have? But before we go to I Want to Gossip, Rob, do you have anything you'd like to encourage the watchers or listeners of the podcast to do?
Oh, we're doing it
comment
this way now,
below,
are we?
or
Oh, I see. All right.
you normally do it before we go to.
Oh, well, all right then. Fine. Okay.
Normally you do.
No,
It's up to you.
I didn't think I would. New year, new me, Alex. You know, I thought we'd shake it up a bit. Of course, as Alex rightly says, give us your thoughts, opinions on the stories this week. Where do you think Keanu and Phil are going from here? Is Sharon going to be involved? As Alex said, is there going to be an affair? Tell us your future predictions. We've had lots of your predictions for the next year come through on our Facebook group, which we can give you the details of at the end of the show. Keep them coming in. We love to see them. And we have some comments and thoughts and general conversation to be read out now on I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
Thank you, as always, for everyone who's got in touch with us via email, on our Twitter, our Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. As Rob said, all the details will be announced at the end of the episode. So keep watching if you're watching us on YouTube, or keep listening if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast apps to find out how you can get in touch. One person who did get in touch was Adam. Hello, Adam. And Adam has said, Adam, Rob and Alex, hello again.
Yo.
It's me from last week. They have recast Abby, a 13 to 14-year-old, for Ellie, a 17-year-old, for the role of Amy, just for a self-harm storyline. But they're happy to make Lily pregnant, the actress, who is also 12 or 13. So to me, surely they have something else planned for Amy as we get going more into the year. I'd love to know what you think. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Is there more for Amy? Is there more storylines coming for Amy? And so there's still, I think, much more to come for Amy. So we are still very much in the period of why Amy was recast, why we've got like a 17-year-old actress playing a girl of Amy's age, because we're into some quite sort of tricky territory for the character. So be patient, Adam. We will, there's much more to come for Amy, I think, and we should see where it all goes. Obviously, Denise and Jack, not to spoil, but they have some stuff coming up very soon as well, which I've seen snippets of. So in terms of, little things that Chris Clenshaw has said. This is why I just call him Clenners. It's easy. I can't say his full name, but
Keep it short,
is easy. It rolls off the tongue. Clenners. He's revealed
so
there's some stuff coming up for Jack and Denise, so we shall see what happens. But yeah, Amy's story is only just beginning, I feel. I think there is much more to come. And long may it rain, because it's a great story, and Ellie Dad's fantastic. So I'm really enjoying it, seeing where it's all going to go.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think we shouldn't say that this is the end of Amy's story. I think we're not out of that. We're not in
FGM territory.
Exactly. We're not in that era anymore. So I think there's more to be told of that story, and I think it's kind of sensitively been done, with the sense that they're obviously kind of concerned with Lily as well. So I think Amy and Lily will, maybe we might see a little young two-hander coming along. We said we wanted a two-hander. Could Amy and Lily handle that, do you reckon?
It's the only thing that we're yet to get that I'm dying for. In sort of like obviously there is so much appreciation for the show's sort of history and its general vibe and tone that has been put into this era so far. And the only thing I feel like we're missing at the moment is two-handers. We've had longer scenes. Some scenes have gone on for 10 minutes or so, which I'm a huge fan of. But all I want is a two-hander. I'm dying for a two-hander between the right characters.
What about a young? But what about? Do you think Amy and Lily could? I think they could.
Yes,
I do think they could, on the strength of this.
Yeah, they could. Oh, for sure they could. I don't know if they've got, in terms of character story, whether they've got enough material at the moment for them to have that. I think there'd have to be a bit more sort of interaction between them. I think the Amy and Lily friendship is something that they can really run with. In terms of two young characters that can kind of grow up together in the square and share lots of storylines together. They'll nick each other's boyfriends or whatever, and stuff will happen. But in terms of like the actresses, of course, completely capable. And there is a lot of potential at the moment for characters to have two-handers. We've done the two-hander discussion many times before, because we're both desperate to see one.
We are desperate.
We're so desperate for a two-hander.
Idiots for a two-hander, right? Come on, Clenners. That's the one thing you've not done yet.
Yeah, come on, Clenners. Give us
a suggestion.
Two-hander. You know what we're going to get, though. It's going to be a Ballum two-hander. You know that. That's coming at some point. So
that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Because it's not necessarily a bad thing.
As I talked about on my tier list, if the video is available on YouTube, I don't. The direction they've taken Ballum now into being a gay couple having this relationship.
Yeah.
as a couple,
You take
I
it,
don't
yeah.
mind so much. I am to go off subject to talk about Ballum a little bit. I am very aware that we see more of Ben than we do Callum. That seems to be a very weird thing. It's, for instance, when Phil was gathering the family together, Callum wasn't invited to that.
Well, also the fact
living.
that we've not seen Callum's reaction to Mick's death. And those two were very close at one point. So Callum's kind of been is on the background, on the back burner very much at the moment. So I'm sure moving forward, especially, once the Lola story really kind of comes to a conclusion, Callum will step forward and support Ben. And obviously we know that Lexi is going to end up with Ben and Callum. So that's all going to kind of come into play. So obviously there is stuff to come for Callum, but yeah, he has been very, very quiet for quite a while. So I'd be interested to see some development for Callum. How we ended up there, I have no idea. But do let us know. Do let us know, and what your thoughts are on all of it. We always talk about the two-handers. We know you want to see them too because we've heard you say it. And how do you think a two-hander would work in the current era? Who do you want to see doing it? Let us all know in the comment section below, or by doing any of the following. You can contact us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can find us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. Boom! First show of the year done. Here we go for another 52 weeks.
Sorry, I just need to clear up the blood from my ears.
R.I.P. headphone users. I do apologise. It's exciting. I'm excited. It's first show of the year, Alex. Happy New Year.
2023, Rob. Any huge plans for 23? What's going to be?
I'm
this year going to be
next month. I'm off to Iceland next month. I'm doing my driving lessons, writing a script. I've got big plans, Alex. I've got plans. As Stacey Slater once said, I got plans. I'm going to go places. So yes,
I'm excited for you, Rob. I'm very excited.
What about you? Another jumper?
I'll get my mother-in-law to knit another jumper for me. I don't know what I'm going to do myself. I don't know. Be happy.
Around the corner.
Sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes
that's all you need.
If you expect things, you should just be happy with your lot. And at the moment, I am happy. I know what I want. I want it to rain. Yeah, I'd like it to rain less. I'd like a bit less rain just right now.
I don't know if you have a huge amount of control over that, Alex.
I'll try.
I see you as obviously a really high-tier human being with all the stuff you do in the podcast. I'm not entirely sure you have control over the weather just yet. You're not Storm from X-Men, but you never know. As you say, never know what's going to happen over the year.
Do you remember there was that story where there was going to be, here we go, off tangent Alex time, right at the end of the show for everyone to enjoy, when wasn't Paul McCartney was going to do a concert in Russia, and they were going to put concrete